Welcome to the podcast with your favorite cash flow guys, Mike and Blaine, giving you the best advice while having a beer. When you're running a business, there are problems every day. Let Mike and Blaine help you out and guide your way. Cheers to the good times with Mike and Blaine for business, beer, and BS.
Hey, it's Mike and Blaine. This is episode 185. I'm Mike Milan, also known as Cashflow Mike. That is my friend and my partner, Blaine Birch, the CEO of Dry Run, the best cash flow forecasting software on the planet. What's up, Blaine?
I am just waiting to see if LinkedIn is live yet. We're just finally live. LinkedIn's actually a little slow to go live here. So if you're on LinkedIn, thanks for just joining us just now.
All right, so hey, should we show them how we test the mics now? It's a new thing.
Go for
right?
it. Yeah, we got new mic test.
I've been messing around with gain and distance and all these type of things, Blaine, because it always sounds good to me, but I guess when we go to the recording, it doesn't sound great. So, yeah, I don't know. But so he goes, hey, can you check your level? So I'm like going, this is my level. This is my mic. And then he did it right back to me. And I'm like, holy shit, that's our new thing. That's what we should do.
We should harmonize.
There you go.
Oh boy, no one wants to hear that.
Hey, does that make us singers now? Because we have recorded singing, right? On an original song. I think we now have, singing credit.
We might be an official duet.
All right. So very cool. So the reason why we do things like that, like check the mics, is it's that attention to detail. And that's today's topic, is we're going to be talking about attention to detail and what it can help or hurt, or, things that happen in business that we should pay attention to. But if you're a first-time listener, you should know this. You're going to get a healthy dose of business, beer, and BS. And we don't know what order, but we're going to start with beer today. So, so what are you drinking, man?
We always at least start with beer, and we will talk about our beer sponsors. But see, you said that the devil's in the details today. So I looked at my fridge, and again, this week I'm down to just a bunch of 10 and 12 percenters. I did find an 8%er, but it's this one here is the Cerebral Brewing DIPA, which is the devil's in the pale ale. So that's the topic today. Yeah. And kind of a cool can, sort of simple, but just a nice looking can. And a nice IPA, actually.
All right, so I am, here's what I'm drinking. I don't know what I'm drinking, because occasionally I get busy here at the office and I dial it in. When I say dial it in, I mean, hey, can you bring me some beer, like from a delivery service? And it's happened a couple times where I order one thing from the app, and I think they go over there and go, fuck it, I can't find it.
So here you go, something different.
So I sometimes when I do that, I don't know what I'm going to get, and it hasn't been bad, so I don't complain. But it's one of those things I'm like going, well, that's a detail thing, because they even tell me on the app, text for substitutes. Like, at least tell me that you're not going to do it, so I might choose something else. Because what if they do get something I wouldn't drink, which is almost nothing, So I picked a beer. They at least got the same brewer. I picked a beer from 903 Brewers, right? Now, yeah,
Gotcha.
you're familiar with them, right? A 6%er. But it's Troop 903, right? Troop 903 is the name of the beer. And it is a flavored cream ale. So I'm going with a cream ale today. I don't know if you can see that or not, the camera. Maybe back here.
Yeah.
So,
nice.
But I wanted to go with End of the Pastryarchy. Right? There was one called Into the Pastryarchy, and I'm like, oh, that's a really cool, and the can looked cool, and I was it's going to be great, but this is what I got instead, because nobody pays attention to details.
Well, yeah, like the perils of, cause back during like the old COVID days where we were ordering our groceries and they were delivering them. We've got some deliveries of groceries, and they would sometimes replace things. And the worst replacement I remember was we ordered like a couple of pounds of flour to bake with, and they replaced it with strawberry Jell-O. I'm serious, because I looked after, I'm like, did you order Jell-O? My wife's like, No, I didn't order Jello. And then I look and I went through the entire list and it was like replacement and replaced flour with Jello.
Yeah.
And I never caught it. So I'm like, well, I guess we have strawberry Jello now or whatever flavor was. It was the weirdest one. That's not even detail. I don't know what that is. That's delusional.
It's just like, they probably like, everybody likes Jello. I'm just throwing it in there.
You know what I bet you it is? There's probably a bet back at the grocery store. If you do the weirdest, like I replaced this with some weird fiddle hopper, you win because you did just the weird replacement of the week.
Nice. That was nice. That was very smooth. Very smooth. So, well, I mean, all right. So you mentioned the COVID thing. Did you do what we did early on? I'm talking about nobody knew anything about anything. So you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
Did you take like the wipes and wipe down the bags and the groceries as they come in out? Don't you feel dumb now? I feel dumb now. Like going, oh, goddamn. I feel dumb now.
Well, yeah, I do feel a little slow for wiping down every single thing that came into the house. But I will tell you one thing that I kept doing after the fact. Because of that, I wiped the tops of the cans.
Oh, I've always done that. Always done that, man. I even do it on the airplane. I do it on the airplane.
Yeah.
I do it. I do it at bars. I mean, I've always done that, right? Because I don't know why.
Because they get really gross.
It gets gross.
And
yeah.
I think I used to I would wipe sort of the dust off, but during COVID, I had those wipes, the disinfectant wipes, and so they were damp. And so I'd wipe things down and everything. And then I'd be like, oh, I'm going to wipe with the damp cloth on the top of the beer cans because I don't want that weird flavor in the beer. But this is a thing. You could not believe sometimes the dirt on the wipes. And I'm like, oh my God, that's what's on the top of these cans. That's what's the one thing, I bring them home and I do a cleaning, not just a light dusting, like I damp rag or something, and I do the tops of all the cans. And sometimes there's some weird shit on there that you get rid of. So
Dude, I used to run bars, remember? I ran bars. I know that just anybody's hands, anybody's things, they're just jamming them down inside these big coolers and pulling them out. I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm just gonna wipe it off. Just be careful.
It's a good call.
Yeah.
It's a good call.
Yeah.
At least it's alcohol and maybe kills a little bit of it, but yeah, pretty gross.
Well, no, I'm not doing it with alcohol wipes. I might just do it with a napkin.
Yeah, no, I usually have I have a damp something or other that I'll just use for that. But we have to thank our beer sponsors because we have beer sponsors and a lot of them are all the way out to the end of the year. And just before I dive into who our beer sponsors are, I want to say, first of all, please like, subscribe, follow, comment on the show. That just helps us so much. We appreciate it so much. But also, you can go to mikeandblaine.com, click on Buy Us a Beer, and you can sponsor the show. And it will take you to a site that says buying coffee. You're not buying coffee. You're just sending us money for beer. But $5 an episode. That's why we have all these beer sponsors, because $5 an episode, and we will mention you. We'll mention your business. We'll talk about you. It is like the most efficient way to use your marketing funds. So come on over to mikeandblaine.com and buy us a beer.
Yeah, and I can tell you what, I actually had a text exchange with Neighbor Brecker. You probably remember early on, Neighbor Brecker was a beer sponsor and all that. I mean, he texted me over the weekend or Monday. I can't remember, one of these days. And he says, I'm at an event with a new brewery in Alamo Heights. Alamo Heights is kind of a neighborhood in San Antonio. And it's called Alamo Heights Brewery. And Breger grew up in Alamo Heights, so he kind of knows it. And they had this beer called Business Casual. He goes, perfect beer. So he's trying to contact Alamo Heights Brewery to sponsor the show, right? So he's
Nice.
trying to do that. So Breger, this is the check to see if you still listen to the show. Now, every once in a while, he sends me a text, but I'm checking to see if neighbor Breger actually listens to the show, and he remembers what he told me at the beer event. So,
Neighbor Breger, if you're out there, just hop on chat. Let us know.
There you go.
But let's we got to dive in. We got to thank some of our beer sponsors. So Rachel Barnett from Gentle Frog. I just met Rachel a few weeks ago. It was awesome. If you have a small business and you're using QuickBooks Online, you have to go talk with Rachel, gentlefrog.com. But most importantly, go to her YouTube channels, YouTube/@gentlefrog. And you're actually going to see a bunch of videos on how to use QBO. how to just get your business straight. And right now, it's like our topic today, devils in the details. Go get straightened out with all that is super important. So thanks again, Rachel. Appreciate it.
There you go. Hey, and don't forget Karen Hairston up in Michigan, 3S Smart Consulting. She can help you find hidden cash in your business. No problem. I'm talking about in minutes. She's one of the best consultants in that area. If you're in Michigan and around it, contact 3S Smart Consulting and get her on your team. You will thank me later.
And Devin, if you look at Mike's shirt, it's actually a plain white shirt, but I've used some AI to add the LSU logo on just for you.
Okay. This is actually the shirt I was wearing when Devin and I went to the ball game together. Right.
Oh, so
he's
it's
seen it
legit.
before. It's legit. He knows it's in that store. It's in the LSU bookstore. He knows it's there. Hey,
It's in the store. Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you what, Devin not only is a beer sponsor, but Devin, you were the catalyst for a major strategic decision that Blaine and I made today, and I want to thank you for that. What do you think?
Yeah, it is. It wasn't a big decision, but like, or it was a big decision, but it was not that hard. Like we got feedback from Devin. We had a couple different tones in some shows, and Devin, I actually went back and listened to like last week's episode, and I listened to some of those shows. And like, yeah, you're right. It's totally like completely out of character for us. We had a couple episodes where we were playing around with the brand, and yeah, they weren't good. So I really appreciate the feedback, because we are focused on making sure that we maintain our brand, and it's the devil in the details like that. We're going to stick with what we do well, what we're comfortable with, what we enjoy, what our fans enjoy, what our sponsors enjoy. And yeah, so I really appreciate the feedback. And so I didn't even mention this to Mike, but so the offending episodes are now disappeared. But in the last episode, it says that if you want to hear them, buy us beer and you can request them and I'll send you a copy. So.
Now, that's funny. All right. So, and that's smart. Because I'm telling you, Devin's whole thing, and he wasn't the only one. Neighbor Pat brought it up to my attention too, which was your tone is different, and I don't know that I like it. Right. And that was powerful feedback. Yeah. See, you didn't. You went back, listened to it. I think because it blends in with the world's environment right now, and this show is different. This show is supposed to be different. It's supposed to be something that enlightens and informs at the same time.
Yeah, and we as you can tell, we never really planned anything from the start. So we're actually getting a little more pro, and now we're kind of understanding where we have to go. So we really appreciate the feedback, and we're going to stick with it, because honestly, we enjoy it 1,000 times more as well. So great feedback from Devin. And finally, neighbor Pat, we got to thank, you just mentioned neighbor Pat bringing you beer all the time, and you busting his chops. And he still brings you beer. So thank you very much, neighbor Pat. I appreciate you giving Mike beer.
Yeah, I think you just busted his chops, because I was nothing but polite. Now you're saying I'm busting chops. So you're bringing it up. You're the one putting salt in the wound. You're like, you know who busted neighbor Pat's chops, Mike? And throw some salt in the wound.
Okay, unintentional Pat. So,
all right. So here's where this came from, right? I mean, always a topic that comes top of mind. Over the last week, I built this product, right? So I wrote the new book. Don't be or don't tell me what to do. And I started off with just training it the way we always do. We create a PowerPoint, then we create a video with the PowerPoint and speak to it. And I'm like going, damn it, you cannot train somebody to have a conversation from a PowerPoint. I just don't think you can, right? I mean, as good. You can learn some cool stuff, but I don't think it's as good, especially now that we have AI, right? So I challenged myself to create an AI training tool for this new course called the Client Conversation Coach. And this AI training tool was made completely with AI, but it's not AI responses, meaning what you get back is already pre-programmed. It's not like it's not like AI is going to go out there and grab some weird stuff and like going, you know what you should do? Put glue on pizza, or something like that. It's not going to do that. because these are videos that I made using an AI script. I used an AI voice cloner. I used an AI video generator. And then I used an AI logic tree that helped me plan this out. Now, if you listen to what I just said, the devil's in the details because anything that gets offline, is when you build software, anything that's offline, the calculation's wrong. It points to the wrong place. It does these type of things. And it is tedious, time consuming work. And I'm telling you, the end product though is fantastic. It's probably the best course I've built, and I built the clear path to cash. So, but that's what I want to talk about today was just how details, improve or actually detract from the original goals of a business.
Yeah, it would reminds me of something that I heard in a conference. Honestly, it was years ago. And you go to like sessions at conferences. How many bajillion have I been in? And don't remember most of them. One thing that stuck out, and I wish I remembered exactly because I want to be able to give credit where credit's due. I can't even remember who the speaker was, but what I do remember is he was talking about startups, and he said basically the idea behind it was, yeah, everybody in the world is afraid of being eaten by a shark, but this is how many people are killed by sharks every year, and there's barely any. This is how many
Yeah.
are killed by mosquitoes.
Yeah.
And he said, think about that in your business. Swat mosquitoes. Swat
Yeah.
mosquitoes, swat mosquitoes. Don't worry about the big one. Just keep swatting the. And so, in other words, take care of those little details every day. Move forward. Take care of the little details because those are the ones that'll either hold you back or move you forward.
I don't know what it is in Texas with mosquitoes, or it's me. It must be me because sometimes they don't affect people, sometimes they affect people, and they affect me. I spent $8,000 on these screens that come down to the back patio just so I can go outside and not get eat by mosquitoes every time I go outside. It's a
Yeah.
ridiculous thing, but anyway, no, but I get what you're saying. Is these little details matter, right? And I have friends that can point out details like this. And I wanna go out on a limb and say I think you're one of them. Like, are you the type of person who spots spelling mistakes instantly, or somebody does a grammar thing,
No,
or if something's off a little bit? Are you the type of person notices, maybe not points it out and calls them on it, but do you notice it?
I. To be honest, I'm much more the opposite. I'm a I do well with big picture thinking and bigger connections on things, and I tend
Mm.
to speed past the details. And I tend to speed, and I just kind of
Uh,
live with typos. And it's nice to have AI to actually pick up some of my stupid typos because I just live up in the 30,000 foot view a lot, and getting down to the details is that's I don't know if it's where I struggle or my mind just doesn't seem to pick up details as much. It's much more in the big picture, and I've always sort of been that way.
Yeah, see, I miss that about you. I thought you've never done that to me, so I don't know why I had that perception, but I thought, well, this is a guy that details stand out to him. He sees them more clear than other people. And what I've tried to do is, I always give grace when I see stuff like that. Like, moving fast, things happen. I get the intent. And I told somebody on a call today, I said, one of my core values, the things that I internalize about myself is I want to assume the best about everybody. That you didn't go out there to look bad. You didn't go out there to
Yeah.
make this
Yeah.
mistake. You legitimately were trying to do something great. Let's just tweak it. Let's just move it. Let's just do that. Not everybody has that, right? They like to call you out on stuff. But and here's where I think it hurts small businesses. Like I saw a sign the other day for a landscaper, right? You know how in certain neighborhoods they allow you to put like little signs. They're like on almost little pieces of I don't know.
Yeah.
They're small. They're just
Yep.
small signs, and they misspelled estimates. Right? The word was misspelled. Free estimates. Lawn care free estimates. Well, I talked to a couple neighbors, and their instinct was to make fun, right? make fun of them. Yeah, we're not. They can't even get the spelling right. They're definitely not going to take care of your long right. They made the jump that if you couldn't pay
Yeah.
attention to detail in spelling on the sign, getting me to want to take your business, that you wouldn't take the time to edge properly or mow in the lines. I mean, whatever the hell it is you want to do on your lawn, they made
Yeah.
the jump to the quality of work.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah, and like I can relate to that because I I would probably it's a natural thing to kind of you connect them and they're probably not even the same people. Like marketing's over here or this is over here. They like just a totally
eh,
different thing. And
no,
um, but you
it,
know, like I'll mention a little bit like back in there's some areas where I can pick out details just through training, like because I've been around it so long, and I know that like when we would back in my creative agency days, if we were hiring a new designer, um, like when I was looking through a portfolio, the detail is often there was definitely sort of the bigger picture, the idea, but you
nope.
could never get past the detail. So if they had like the kerning, like the letter spacing wrong, if they had some of those um formal issues, craft issues wrong, and those were details, you're just like, no, they can't like that's not something we can get past because you have to have that level of competence, right? And those are details, and those are things like I can pick out. It drives me nuts. Like honestly, I'll drive by the a sign on the side of the road and I'll pick out and go like the S is too close to the T. Like, you know, it just drives me nuts because you can just it, it's wrong, right? So I can sometimes pick out details, but it's just areas where I've just been trained and it's been beaten into me so long. But it
I,
does,
I,
it's so important, right?
I mean, I worked, of course, in software for many years, and there were arguments about the number of pixels things should be, or apart from each other, or alignment, and those type of things. Am I going?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
That's my
dude. I mean,
co-founder.
sometimes it's
Yeah.
not even perceptible,
Oh, no, it
right?
is. And it drives me batty. I will literally ask Tark. It drives him. I think it drives him nuts because like design wise, I see that stuff and I'll be like, can you just move that over 2 pixels? It is driving me bonkers. Like 1 pixel or 2 pixels, but it's just like, I notice that stuff is, it doesn't even look like a detail to me. It looks glaring to me, but you know,
Okay, so there's two or three different problems with this big, massive thing I just built, right? This interactive tool. Because for some reason, on two of the pop ups that you can create, when you go through and put in these elements on a pop up, elements being an image, elements being a text string or a button or things like that, right? You can actually type in the position, horizontal and vertical, in this one pop up. And I have no reason why, or I can't figure out why it's wrong. I have three elements, think three questions. And then I have three more elements, think three buttons. So three buttons. And really what I'm asking you to do is pick a button or pick a question. Click the button to pick the question. These questions I have all because they allow you to type in the exact position. I want this at 170, which means 170 pixels over from the edge. Every question is set to the horizontal location at 170, all three of them. And when you see it, when they display it to the customer during the publication, they're all three in different places. And it is driving me batty. It's not an alignment issue. It's like going, I don't get it. I cannot figure out what's wrong with their product is wrong. It's what's wrong with it. It's not reading it right.
yeah, that stuff drives me nuts. And it's hard. It's hard to test every little thing all the time. But like you know, in software, like if we do a release, we always do a smoke test. Multiple people through a smoke test. Smoke test is like you just go from start to finish through everything. And it's still you can miss something. But what's weird is that sometimes what you it's just like this is isolated over here. It won't affect anything else till it's like for some reason it adjusts something way over here that doesn't even feel connected. Sometimes that happens. And so you have to test the crap out of it. And boy, those little things like that are so frustrating. It can be a needle in a haystack. Like that's the frustrating part about details. Sometimes it can be like such a pain to fix
All right,
and
so
find, right?
so when I'm talking about the details on this, it's just what you're saying. There are 90 unique paths. How do I know? Because I asked AI, how many unique paths in this thing? All right, because I took the embed code and I'm like, how many unique paths can a user go through? There are 90 unique paths through this thing, which is a lot, right? I mean, which
Yep.
means generally you're not going to have the same experience, time after time after time. I mean, there's 90 different things that could happen. So with that, think about this. You first choose 3 questions. One of them is a strong question, which means it's the right question, the one you should ask because I'm teaching you a conversation technique. The next one is a weak question. The weak question is it's close to the strong, but you're not going to get as good an answer because of the way it's phrased. And then the last one is the wrong question. You shouldn't ask that question at all, but it's not phrased so terribly, right? Because again, I'm trying to teach people the technique is it's about the way you talk to somebody. Well, when you select one of the questions, I give you 3 random responses that you have to choose from, either A, B, or C. So think about that. First of all, there's 3 questions, and then for each question, there's 3 choices. Well, you can already see the details falling apart
Yeah.
crazily because then there's 8 techniques. Right?
Yeah.
So think about the branching that happens, after that.
Yeah, this reminds me so much of how Baylor just like took my March Madness what do you call it, grid or whatever, and just like flushed it down the toilet right there.
Yeah,
Baylor let me down, man.
And I got to tell you, if you just stick to your knitting and stay in software, stop trying to bet on basketball, you'd be okay.
Yeah, probably. Oh, I didn't put any money on that. I don't know anything about basketball, but what do you call it? What do you call that in March Madness?
I told everybody from the beginning, Baylor's not going to make it past the second round. I said, they're going to hit Duke next. They're not going to beat Duke. I've watched this team all year. They're not beating Duke. I called it before the rounds even started.
I know. I just picked them just because of you. And
I know.
then they did.
Hey, that's
they
love.
wrecked my
That's real
bracket.
love, man. That is real love. I get it. Right.
It is like man, I'm all in on Baylor because of you, all because of you. So hopefully,
all right. So football season is coming up, and we've had a good
Baylor have a
year
football team.
transfer. Yeah, I mean, conference champs, 3 times in the last 10 years. I mean, that's pretty good.
Okay, no, that is good. I didn't know that. Okay.
So, yeah. Now, and now that Oklahoma left, we can probably win more. But we actually got some other good teams in the Big 12, like BYU and Arizona State. I mean, there's some other good teams that came in, so who knows? Devil's in the details.
Yes.
That's especially in football, right? Because any one little thing. I mean, it's not only just a game of inches. It's a game of. I mean, I'm talking about just miscalculations. We're talking about a game of seconds, milliseconds. I misstep.
Yep.
I take the wrong step at the wrong time. I can't catch up to the guy because he's slightly faster than I am, and I have a bad angle.
Yeah.
Football is so technical and so many details that any little thing, if you fall out of line, you're done. I mean, you're beat, and that's what happens.
Yeah, it's for those of you guys who watch racing out there, like F1 is the one that I like. That is the devil in the detail. Like can you imagine? You do a lap in a minute and a half, and if you're a quarter second off, it's like, oh, what is wrong with you? But then if you go over like how many laps in your quarter second, like, yeah, you're ending the race 30 seconds behind or something. So it is amazing. Like that is one of the ultimate detail sports. Like it's unbelievable. But the difference between winning and losing is, like you said, it's a game of milliseconds, it's a game of inches. And think about that in your business. It's easy to overlook the details, but the details are okay. I'm going to mention something here because we've both seen this before, a devil in the details. How many times have you seen a business that doesn't really know the net profit margin on their services or goods? Like they just think, oh, I'm making enough, so I should be good. But they're not actually profitable on their service or their product because they're not calculating it properly. They're not calculating it including everything you need to see if you're going to be profitable.
All right, can I ask a clarifying question? That you said net profit, though. Did you mean gross profit?
No,
Oh,
because the we've had this conversation before, and gross profit, where I find a lot of times the companies, the gross profit, there's room because they can go, here's my cost, here's my direct cost, here's my, so I'm like, oh man, like this is a good example. It's like, holy cow, I've got 100% gross profit on that product or whatever. When you start looking down to the details and you start going, yeah, but you're selling that out of that location, that store, and you're not really like, do you have enough to cover all of your other expenses related to operating that store? So I guess it flows downhill, but it's like that, the devil's in the details, because sometimes it's easy just to go, I've got a big markup, I should be good. Yeah, but are you running profitable as you start to add in all of the other bits, or are you actually losing money? Like, let's say I've got a widget and I've got a 50% markup in it. And then I'm thinking, oh yeah, and then I have staff install it, and yeah, I charge $100 for installation. Should be lots of room. And then you start going, yeah, but is that package of goods and services actually profitable? Like, are you overlooking some of the details? So I know they're two very important things, but net profit is oftentimes where I see businesses really failing, because they just, well, it doesn't count or something. It's like, hey, it's coming out in the wash at some point, and those details are where you're going to lose your shirt, right?
yeah, I got to tell you, I mean, you're talking exactly what I do at Castle Mike, right? Which is, first of all, the techniques I teach are to get people, to look in the right spots, right? It's a big picture, look in the right spots, and then dig into the details. And
Yep.
every time, especially this week, I'm building that product, but every time I'm digging into details, I think you should start the day off with a magic mind, right? Because if you got to focus and you got to look at
Yeah.
details and you got to, really dig in and look at individual all the way down to transaction levels, it takes focus. You can't be distracted on what's happening around you. You've got to actually be able to have the energy, the discipline, and the focus to get through this exercise. And I'm telling you, using Magic Mind, it is the easiest thing. That's what I was going to bring up when I told you I built this big ass thing. That's what I'm talking about. This Magic Mind helped me focus every day on making sure every single line attached, every single path was connected in the right way. So if you're not using Magic Mind, contact them now. How do they contact them?
Yeah, so Magic Mind is just a terrific sponsor of ours, and they actually have a limited time offer. So you can take advantage of it right now. You can get 48% off of a subscription. So if you actually get a subscription, they'll just deliver Magic Mind to your door every month. Or if you just want to try a one-time purchase, you can get 20% off. Just use the code. First of all, go to magicmind.com/Mike and Blaine 20. And then at checkout, use the code Mike and Blaine 20, and you'll get 48% off your first subscription or 20% off a one-time purchase. And just check down the show notes. You'll see exactly where to go and what code to use. So thanks again, Magic Mind. Appreciate it.
Did I tell you neighbor Pat came down for some more the other day?
No,
Yeah, he came down and got a whole bag full. Or not, or what,
nice.
I think it was 3 and 3 or 6 and 6. I can't remember. It's like, I think it's 3 and 3. 3 for sleep, 3 for focus. Hey, it works both ways, man. I'm telling you, this thing it works. It just works.
That could really help you guys in your cornhole tournament.
What? I mean, he's already asleep every time we play. So,
Well,
which,
hey, what if you want to make it like a little bit competitive there? It's like you take the sleepy one and he takes the focus one.
oh, it's like a handicap, right? It's like a golf
Yeah, exactly.
handicap.
It's like a golf handicap. Exactly.
That's funny. All right, so let's go back to that, right? Because there is details that happen. I mean, sometimes before that, I'll just say sometimes it starts at the sales level, and All right, so I was up in the Northwest. I think it was in Portland. There's a coffee company in Portland. I mean, how do you compete with Starbucks in the Pacific Northwest, right? If you're a local coffee company, right? So Starbucks is known for misspelling your name, right? This company took it just a slightly more than that. Didn't misspell your name, but just wrote a phrase or a quote for the day for you. That's it. Hope you do well. Go get them today. What those type of things. Just wrote it on there. Just a message to you. It was from the barista that was making your coffee. Put it on the sleeve. Short little message. Gave it to you to make you feel good. To make you think about you and
Yeah.
your day. And it was just all inspirational. And it tripled sales. Because then
Wow.
people started putting that on the social media. They would take a picture.
Oh,
Here's what
yeah.
I got. Here's what I got a local call for today. And I forget the name. And I apologize not knowing the name. I can't remember it. But I remember reading an article about this place where it was tripled the sales based off of that one thing where people felt good and started talking about it on social media. And it cost them nothing. Couple of seconds, right, of time.
Yeah.
And so that's a detail.
Smart.
That's a detail that hit the sales that you don't,
Yeah.
we're not coming up with a new product. We're not coming up with a new program or discount or anything like that. We did one thing for that
Just a
one person.
little thing. Yeah. Just to it's just a simple like little gesture to make their day kind of a nicer day. So it has a nice business outcome, but it's also fun for the staff. It's fun for the customer. Like it's like a win-win-win situation.
Yeah.
It's okay. I don't know if you've ever done this, but have you ever given a different name at Starbucks? Because I did it.
Oh, did you?
I did it once or twice because because I'll say Blaine and it's like Blair, Dwayne, but like always wrong, right? And so a couple times I've actually just like Steve or Ryan or whatever. But one time I gave a name and then I couldn't remember what I gave. And so then I'm kind of looking and like, okay, what did I order? What name did I use? And so I quit doing that. Now, like, I'll just take the misspelled name.
No, I always do something weird like, oh, it's Mike with a B.
Nice.
Like, oh, what? Like, people always like, I think it's funny. Courtney thinks it's dumb. The barista's confused. Like,
That's it's like that's another one. That's a win-win-win.
Ever tell you I caught a guy lying to me when I was I was selling. You know how you give, hey, what's your name? What's your address? That type of stuff. I said, what's your phone number? Guy goes, oh, and this is when I was living in St. Louis. Oh, it's 314, blah, 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 blah. I said, no, what's your real phone number? He goes, that's what it is. And he repeated it. I'm like going, that's my phone number. The guy made up a number on the spot and he made up my number.
Oh man. I wonder if it was one of those like he saw your number and then it embedded without him knowing it subconsciously, eh?
Yeah, so I guess the sale was over. Right.
That kind of ruins it.
Yeah, I'm like, going, if you're going to give me a fake phone number, I mean, obviously you're not interested.
I do remember a friend of mine. This is like 30 years ago, but we were in a bar and some like girl asked for his number, and I kid you not, it went 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I was like, and at that time it was so long ago we didn't use area codes, right?
You didn't figure it out?
She wrote it down and went, "That's such a coincidence." Yes, it is. Like,
Because it wasn't right.
no, like,
Is
2,
that a
3,
real
4,
number?
5,
Was it a
6.
real number?
No, he just made it, but like that, he made it up, and it was so poorly, obviously made up that
got it.
that's just brutal.
Hey, you remember I was a state trooper for 7 years. Hey, by the way, if you guys are listening, you're like, oh, what the hell happened to the conversation? Apparently we morphed into BS for a second.
Well, that tiny bit, yeah. We always have a little in there.
All right. So when I was a state trooper, I was allowed to sit in on, they were called the DDCC, right? It's the drug and detective. Call it detective, right? So the detectives are investigating a murder and a murder suspect, and they're in the room, and they let me come in there and kind of listen to what was happening.
Yeah.
And this guy's story just seemed to just flow really good. Oh yeah, I was here, and then I went across St.
A little
Charles
too much.
County. No, no, actually, it just seemed normal across St. Charles County, but they had everything else on the guy, but they were wanting his timeline was slightly askew, right? You seen it like, oh, where's that 20 minutes at? So,
Mm,
or where's that 30 minutes at? Well, it doesn't matter. Where's that at? We can't account for this amount of time. And based on his timeline, it works. Based on when we think it happened, it doesn't work.
yeah.
Right. So St. Charles County, he says, yeah, I drove across I-70 in St. Charles County. I went across the bridge, went into St. Louis County, and then went on about my day. Well, the detective was super smart. Remember, details matter. Details matter. He says, hey, that's the path you took? All right, I'll be right back. He goes in to the dispatchers, right? Calls them on the phone and goes, hey, can you check this time frame for that day along this route and tell me what accidents were happening that day? I said nothing, clear, no accidents. There was nothing in the roadway. It was just smooth sailing. He comes back in. The detective's this smart, right? He knows the story. He knows the details. He knows the facts of all of it. He says, oh my God, I just checked your story. I went out in there, looked at accident reports and all that. He says, all you got to do is verify this. If you were there, you would have seen this accident because it stopped traffic for almost an hour and it was on the bridge and there was a gust of wind that blew a sailboat over, right? It was on the back of a semi, a flatbed, and it was so hard it blew it over, though it caught and just blew it over and it was on its side and it took us almost an hour to clear it up. I mean, were you there? He goes, oh my God, that's what that was? He goes, yeah, I was sitting in traffic. I was and this guy goes and
Oh
tells this
man.
big story about how he was stuck in traffic. And the detective looks at him and says, yeah, we got you. Like, we got you. Right? It's just like one of those things where, you got to remember cops can distort the truth while they're talking to you to try to get the truth out. Right? That's not illegal for
Yeah.
them to, I'll call it a lie. It's called a bait question. Right? It's a bait question. Well, if you were there, you had to see this. All the guy had to do was say, no, I just sailed right through. That's all, that's all he had to say. Instead, he came up with this big thing to cover his own personal story. Is that crazy?
That should be like a TV show, but it probably is. Like
Yeah.
that should literally be on a show somewhere because that's just clever.
That
Super
was
clever.
good. That was really good. I mean, how he come up with that and and I'm sure in there's training and because I was never did. I wrote speeding tickets and arrested people for dumb stuff. But watching these guys that had done this job for 20, 30 years and they just come up with these questions. Dude, I'm telling you,
Yeah.
smart folks sitting in those rooms.
Super cool. That's that's
Yeah.
uh that's pretty slick. So Pat
Yeah.
was asking for more of your magic mind, by the way, so I had to tell him
Oh,
get them all set up.
I, I have to order some more. I saw you ordered some. You got it delivered.
Yeah,
I
got
still
delivered
need to
through.
order some. Yeah, I still need to order some. So, but is that what he was? I didn't see the chat. I must have missed it. Missed all the chats.
We're pretty tech savvy over here.
Yeah.
So,
Michael set you up. Michael set you up. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I need more. That sounded like a weird movie you guys made.
yeah, you know what's kind of weird is that if I leave a comment, it puts it on YouTube and it puts it on Riverside and he's on Facebook. So yeah, Pat, I don't even know if you saw my comment back because it looks like it posted to YouTube and Riverside. So it posts my stuff multiple places. I'm not sure what got to Facebook. So yes, yeah, a little bit of a lack of attention to detail at Riverside. You might want to get on that.
Yeah. So these things happen. I mean, all right. So we were talking about like cost controls. I mean, let's assume sales are good. You're happy with sales. Let's assume that you're pricing things right. But that's why I asked you, did you mean gross profit? Because your gross profit should be enough to do two things. One, cover your fixed cost, right? Your
Yep.
operating cost, your rent, your
Yep.
salaries, your office supplies, those type of things. and then have a little left over, right?
Yeah.
Which we call net profit.
Your net. Yeah.
And I always add a little bit extra onto that called transferable value. And that transferable value is what am I going to take out of the company to do whatever it is I want to do next, right? Because some people just like going, hey, I got an extra $5,000 there, I'm going to take it, and then they hurt the company a month later. And you know that from dry run, right? Forecasting.
Yeah.
Taking money out of the company at the wrong time or taking the wrong amount hurts you. So
Yeah.
that's why I always build it into the net profit. Go ahead.
Well, and the thing is, like, when you've got your budget and you're doing your gross margins, and then you have your net margins, and you have some money left over. Truthfully, like that's the stuff that tends to get reinvested back into the business, and something maybe you haven't budgeted for, but an opportunity comes forward, and you want to have that money to move, and so that's so critical. And I think sometimes business owners, especially in small business, they're kind of like, well, I've paid myself, and so in the end, I kind of broke even, but at least I got a check out of it or whatever. But how do you take advantage of new opportunity? How do you grow the business? That's all on your net profit. You can't do it on your gross. Like, it has to be like what is left over at the end of the day. And so, like, all the components fall into line, but I'm always preaching, like, you need to see the full picture. You need to know net profit, because that's, at the end of the day, that's what you have after the fact to inject back in the business or pull out of the business or whatever. Right?
Yeah. So I want to add on what you said about the budget, right? Because every time I say budget to somebody, they automatically go to the word restriction. Oh, I'm going to be restricted in what I can do. I don't want you to think about it that way anymore. I started thinking about it differently just because I'm working with so many like accountants and bookkeepers and stuff now. I'm like going, I want you to think about intention, not restriction. And here's what I mean by that we're already telling those dollars what they're going to do. We're intending to spend this money for this. It's not restriction. You still control every dollar and where it goes and how to use it, but you're being intentional about it, right? So think about budget not like it's holding you back, but like you're being deliberate about the decision you're making about how to use that dollar.
Yeah. And truthfully, like what we do in dry run is we use the term budget about 1% of the time compared to forecast, because it's just more my personal belief, and it differs from organization to organization. Sometimes they have requirements, so they have to do a budget. They have to fall within a certain, their variance can't be above or below the blah blah blah. But what I always encourage is a forecast is dynamic, so that it's like you kind of get your forecast in. This is what I think we're going to spend here. This is how much we think we're going to make there. But that just is continually, it's a living document, and it evolves. And so you're always trying to go, how can I deploy the money we have best? Where can I cut back if I have to cut back? And it's just like I find it so much more effective than upload the budget and see how tight we can live to it, because it's like, yeah, but at the start of the year, did you really know what was happening? And is it going to be the most effective way to deploy that capital?
Yeah. So I teach that in the course, right? So budget is just what you're doing. That's your plan. That's the plan you're trying to follow. Forecast is like every other variation off of that. Like, what if this? What if it's better? What if it's worse? What if we lose a customer? What if? That's why it's dynamic. When people don't understand it, I'm like going, think about this. What if you decided to be a runner and in January 1st, you said, I'm going to run a 10-minute mile by the end of the year. And you built this whole plan. I'm going to do this in January, February, March, all the way through the year. And by the end of the year, I should be able to run a 10-minute mile, right? That's your plan. That's your budget. I go out and I run 3 or 4 times a week. And by the end, if I do this, I should run 10-minute miles. What if you're better? What if your body adjusts faster and you run a 10-minute mile in March? Do you stick with the same plan? You're like going, are you still
Adjust it.
training to run 10 minutes? No, you're like going,
Yeah.
Shit, maybe I can run a 8.5-minute mile or a 9-minute mile. And you
Yeah.
change the plan. It's the same thing in your business. Once you're already doing it, change it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's just like, to me, budget is like you said, it's people read into it. It's become a bit of a dirty word, right? Even though space, like you said, it's just kind of a plan of allocating. This is what we're planning to do. but it just feels like sometimes it just handcuffs people, and um, and sometimes budgets are actually operated that way. Got to spend all my budget so I get it next year. Well, that's not a great way for an organization to work and to work efficiently and effectively. Um, so yeah, so that's why we just tend to focus on the idea of a forecast and have something that is dynamic and is moving with you and adjusting on the fly, right? Because budgets aren't supposed to be changed, I think, is the mental makeup that a lot of people have, right?
Right. So I'm not going to argue with you, but you just explain the reason why Doge exists. Oh, we have a budget. We have to spend it.
Oh no, like it's true. I don't think anyone will argue
No,
with that.
dude,
That
that
sort of
happens.
problem, right?
That
Yeah.
happens. When I work state government. One of the deployments I had was I became the administrative officer for a unit, a National Guard unit. And the end of the year came up and they said, "Hey, you haven't spent all your money." I'm like, "Fucking hey, that's good. Turn that shit back in." No, they said, if you don't do it, you won't get it next year. And they made me spend it. My boss made me spend it. And we ended up with like a treadmill in the office or some shit like that. I'm like, what are we doing? There's no way. And I was running my company, my hotel staffing company at the time. I'm like going, what the hell was that? I mean, I had to just blow money that didn't need to be blown, that nobody's ever going to use this stuff. It's just wasted. I hated it.
Yeah, we used to see that every year when during my creative agency days, because we did so much government work, both at the city, the provincial, and sometimes at the federal level. And it was a running joke that like the province, their year end was end of March, and usually around December, sometimes into January, we would get a phone call. I got to spend this budget. Do you want to do this project? That was usually a 6-month or a year-long project. And we go, no, because it's not going to. We can't no. And usually what would happen is around June or July, we get a phone call and, yeah, remember that thing? Well, we screwed it up. Now we got to do it right. But we used to also make fun of it. We go into offices and it's like, oh, new carpet day, because it would just replace carpet. It was like every government office I swear I walked into had new carpet smell permanently because so, no, I think there's not a lot of debate that, we're picking on government here, but it can happen in large corporations all the way down to small business, right? There's not a lot of argument, I think, that the just being forced to chew up your budget and all of that is so broken.
Yeah.
It's just, how do you fix it? I'm not sure. Like there's a lot of nuance to it, but I know one of the techniques is a zero-based budget. So then what happens every year is last year's budget is flushed down the toilet. You start from scratch, you build your budget, and you have to justify all of it. And
what do you need? Yeah.
What do you need? Yeah, it takes time. But when you see that it's just, we're flushing down 20, 30% of our budget every year down the toilet on stupid stuff just to make sure we get it again next year is so broken. Imagine what happens without, honestly, without basically changing anything else outside of requiring them to justify it all and having a little bit of pushback on it. That can have a pretty big fundamental difference on how people look at things, right?
Yeah. Sure enough. So, hey, here's what I'm thinking though. I mean, details matter, right? Down to the smallest thing you think doesn't matter probably does, right? If there's some type of response to it, such as, I mean, writing a message on a cup, tripled sales. I mean, that's a weird thing. If they stop doing it, guess what will happen, right?
Yeah,
if you take it. Yeah. So if you take away somebody's reasons to buy, they're going to stop buying. So details matter. Find the detail that matters. I know that's the hard part. What's the thing that matters, right? But you know what it is. I mean, you know in your heart what it is. You know what's right. You know what's wrong. You know what works, what doesn't. Stop doing the things that don't work and focus on the details that do.
And if you're not really sure, talk to your customers.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Talk with your customers.
Yeah.
And your best customers, not the ones you lost, not the ones that don't. Talk with your best customers, the ones that love you. Talk with them. Ask some questions. Great place to learn.
All right. So we're 185. We're going to put this one in the books. But if you want to know more about us, if you want to hear more, the first time you ever heard us, go to mikeandblaine.com. Go to Spotify, go to Google, wherever you're getting your podcast at, Apple, and go there. What else?
Go to mikeandblaine.com, buy us a beer, and we will mention you because you can be one of our new beer sponsors. $5 an episode. It is the most ridiculous value for sponsorship, and the only reason it's $5 is because we decided on that years ago and just stuck with it. So take advantage of us. The devil's in the details, and we haven't upped our beer sponsor price yet. So take advantage of it and buy some beer, and we'll mention you.
Check out their website at mikeandblaine.com. Then subscribe to the podcast and buy these guys a beer.